we see that God is doing many wonderful things. Individual redemption of men, the most important, but there are many other things. And all of that highlights God's glory. Yeah, there is one more thing that I think is important for understanding dispensationalism and helps me to stay a dispensationalist. And that is that God is doing many things, many different things for His glory. If you are consistently literal as you read the Bible, you'll see the distinction between Israel and the church, but you'll also see many other different distinctions and many other things that God is doing. He's not doing just one thing. A lot of people emphasize individual redemption. Well, and I have to say, my personal salvation is the most important thing to me. And it's very high on the list in terms of what God has done in history, saving the souls of individual men. That's high on the list. Top priority. I have no problem with that. But He's also doing more than that. And sometimes we miss those parts of the Bible. For example, God has a plan for all of creation, the created order. He created in Genesis 1. He's going to later, because of sin that was messed up in a big way, but Romans 8 says the creation waits the day of its redemption. It's going to be redeemed. And one day He's going to redo it and renovate it, Revelation 21, and the new earth. So God has a plan there. But He also has a plan for the nations. In Genesis 10, He creates the nations out of the peoples of the earth. There are nations. The Tower of Babel kind of makes that ingrained in the way the human race is. But then He also has a plan for the nations. There's going to be a judgment of the nations when Jesus comes back. Some of the nations make it, some don't, and some of the nations will exist in the coming kingdom and some won't. He has a plan for the nations as nations. Then He has a plan for Israel. We talked about that. Genesis 12, He starts Israel, has a plan throughout history in the Bible, and then there's going to be the national restoration of Israel, Isaiah 11, Jeremiah 32, Daniel 7, Ezekiel 36, all those passages that point toward that, and that's going to happen in the future. Has a plan for the church. Acts 2, the church starts and has God works with us all the way through to the kingdom. Then there's the rapture of the church, 1 Thessalonians 4. So start and the beginning point of the final redemption for the group. And so God's doing all those things, and He also has a plan for the lost. It's a very tragic plan for us. That's why we need to pray for our lost friends to come to Christ and share our faith. But He also has a plan for angels, plan for good angels, plan for bad angels. Now when you stop and you look back, pull back at the big picture, the mosaic that God has there, we see that God is doing many wonderful things. Individual redemption of men, the most important, but there are many other things. And all of that highlights God's glory. And all of this is worked out through the panorama of the ages and the dispensations that God has given. The different ages throughout history. God is working, and sometimes He works differently in this age than the other. Why? Because He's doing a lot of different things. And all of that shows how great God is. And when you look at that, it's founded, just like the distinction between Israel and the church, on literal interpretation. And so that foundation helps me to read the Bible for all that it's worth.